The laughter started small, just a few chuckles from the back rows of the council chamber. Daniel Ross heard it clearly despite the vast size of the room. He stood at the center platform, hands clasped behind his back, watching 47 different alien species react to his presentation. The chuckles grew into full laughter within seconds. His presentation had been simple. Earth wanted to join the Galactic Council. Humanity had developed fusion power, mapped their genome, created quantum computers, and sent probes beyond their solar system. He thought these achievements would matter. They did not. Councillor Trell of the Manthari Empire raised one of his 4 arms. The laughter stopped immediately. Trell's species looked like walking trees with bark-like skin and eyes that glowed amber. He spoke in a voice that boomed across the chamber. "Ambassador Ross, your species thinks fusion power is impressive?" Trell's mandibles clicked, and what Daniel had learned was a Manthari smile. "We abandoned fusion 3,000 years ago. It is what children learn about in their history classes." More laughter rippled through the chamber. Daniel kept his face neutral. He had been a soldier before becoming a diplomat. He knew how to take hits without flinching. A Huskari delegate stood up next. The Huskari looked like floating jellyfish with dozens of tentacles. This one's skin flashed purple with amusement. "And your quantum computers. How adorable. Do they even break molecular encryption yet?" "No," Daniel admitted. He saw no point in lying. The chamber erupted in laughter again. A Voltari representative, a being that resembled a mantis made of chrome, actually slapped her desk. "They compute with quantum particles and think they are advanced. My personal communication device has more processing power than their entire planetary network." Daniel waited for the laughter to die down. It took almost a minute. He noticed one young Voltari in the back who was not laughing. She looked uncomfortable. Her name was Lyra, he remembered from the briefing files. "Perhaps," Daniel said calmly, "we could discuss technology sharing programs. Earth has resources. We have skilled workers. We can learn." Trell stood up fully now. He was 3 meters tall. "Ambassador Ross, let me be clear. Your species has no faster-than-light travel. Your ships use chemical rockets." "Chemical rockets? You burn fuel to push yourselves through space like ancient fireworks. You have no planetary shields, no antimatter reactors, no neural linking, no gravity manipulation, no temporal sensors." "That is correct," Daniel said. "Then what exactly do you bring to this council?" Another delegate shouted. Daniel could not see which species asked. The question brought fresh laughter. Daniel felt heat rise in his chest but kept it from his face. "Humanity has survived for 200,000 years on a planet that tried to kill us at every turn. We have fought ice ages, plagues, asteroids, and each other. We are still here. We are still pushing forward. That persistence has value." "Persistence?" Trell's mandibles clicked rapidly now. "You know what we call species like yours? Cute. You are cosmically cute. Like watching infant mammals learn to walk. Adorable but not useful." The chamber filled with the sounds of alien laughter again. Some delegates were standing now, pointing at Daniel, their various appendages waving with mirth. Daniel stood perfectly still and waited. Finally, Trell raised all 4 arms. Silence fell again. "The Galactic Council has reviewed Earth's application. We have decided to grant your species observer status." Daniel had read about observer status in the preparation materials. It was the lowest possible classification. It meant Earth could watch council proceedings but not speak, could receive public broadcasts but not request aid, could exist on the galactic stage but not matter. "Observer status is for species not yet ready for the responsibilities of true membership," Trell continued. "You may watch. You may learn. Perhaps in a few thousand years, when you have developed proper technology, we can discuss this again. Until then, humanity should focus on catching up to the rest of us." "Is there an appeal process?" Daniel asked. "There is," Trell said. "You may reapply in 50 years. If you have made sufficient progress, we will reconsider. But looking at your current trajectory, I suspect you will still be using chemical rockets when that time comes." More mandible clicks. More laughter from the chamber. Daniel nodded once. "Thank you for your time, Counselor. You are dismissed, Ambassador." Trell waved one arm. "We have important matters to discuss. Actual galactic business. You may watch from the observer galleries if you wish." Daniel turned and walked toward the exit. The laughter followed him across the chamber floor. Some delegates were still pointing at him. Others had turned away already, discussing matters they considered important. He reached the door and stepped through. The hallway outside was empty. Daniel stood there for a moment, feeling the weight of humiliation settle on his shoulders. 2 years of preparation, 6 months of travel to reach this station. All for nothing, Ambassador Ross, he turned. Secretary Lyra had followed him out. Up close, her chrome surface reflected the hallway lights in strange patterns. Her voice came from a speaker somewhere in her body. Yes? That was cruel in there, she said quietly. My people were particularly unkind. I apologize. You have nothing to apologize for. You were not laughing? No, I was not. Lyra looked back at the chamber doors. I wanted to warn you about something. The Council has destroyed many promising species with exactly this kind of arrogance. They mock you until you give up, until you stop trying, until you decide the galaxy is not worth joining. Daniel studied her reflective face. Why tell me this? Because some of us remember what it was like to be new, to be dismissed. My species was laughed at too once. She paused. Do not let their mockery stop you, Ambassador. That would be the real tragedy. I will take your advice under consideration, Daniel said. Lyra nodded and turned to go back inside. Daniel watched her leave, then started walking toward the docking bay where his ship waited. The laughter still echoed in his mind. Every chuckle, every dismissive wave, every sneer. He had been a soldier once. He knew that battles were not always won with weapons. Sometimes they were won with patience. Sometimes they were won by making the enemy underestimate you. Humanity had been underestimated before. It never ended well for those doing the underestimating. Daniel reached his ship and climbed aboard. Time to go home. Time to make a report. Time to see what Earth would do next. The Council thought observer status was a punishment. Daniel was beginning to think it might be an opportunity. After all, observers see everything.
And humanity had always been good at learning from watching.
Counselor Trell stared at the blank communication screen in his office. 3 months had passed since Earth's humiliating rejection from the Galactic Council. 3 months of silence from humanity. Complete total silence. At first nobody noticed. Earth was insignificant, barely worth tracking. Their observer status meant they could watch Council broadcasts but had no obligation to participate. If humanity wanted to sulk quietly in their corner of space, who cared? But then the reports started coming in. Trell pulled up the first report on his screen. It came from the Voltari Trade Ministry. All human merchant vessels had stopped visiting Voltari ports. The humans gave no explanation. They simply stopped coming. Their last shipments delivered, their last payments made, and then nothing. The second report came from the Haskari Scientific Exchange Program. Earth had recalled every single human student from alien universities. Again, no explanation. The students packed their belongings and left on the next available transport home. The third report troubled Trell more. Earth's embassy stations on 12 different worlds had closed. The human diplomats thanked their hosts politely, settled all accounts, and departed. When asked where they were going, the humans smiled and said they were going home. Going home, Trell muttered to himself. The phrase bothered him, though he could not explain why. His communicator buzzed. A Haskari merchant captain named Fell was requesting an urgent meeting. Trell almost declined, but saw the priority marker on the request. He accepted. Fell's image appeared, his jellyfish-like body pulsing with agitation. Counselor, we have a situation. I tried to enter human space yesterday. Standard trade route. I have made the journey 50 times, and... Trell asked. Their border stations turned me away. Not hostile, mind you. Very polite, but firm. They said human space is closed to foreign vessels until further notice. Trell sat up straighter. Closed on what grounds? Internal development, they said. They apologized for any inconvenience and offered to buy out the remainder of my contract at double the standard rate. The credits transferred immediately. Then they escorted me to the border and waited until I left. Did you see anything unusual? Fell's body flashed red. That is why I am calling you, Counselor. As my ship turned away, my sensors picked up something. Massive energy readings from Earth's moon, construction on a scale I have never seen, and something around Mars too. The humans jammed my sensors before I could get detailed scans. Trell dismissed the call and opened his intelligence network. If humanity was doing something unusual, his people would know. The Manthari Empire had intelligence assets everywhere, except apparently in human space. His top intelligence officer, a younger Manthari named Vess, appeared on screen looking embarrassed. Counselor, we have a problem. Our surveillance drones have been malfunctioning. What do you mean malfunctioning? Every drone we send toward Earth's solar system stops functioning. Complete systems failure. We have lost 8 drones in 2 months. 8 drones? Why was I not informed? We thought it was equipment failure at first. But our engineers examined the pattern. The drones fail at almost exactly the same distance from Earth, as if there is an invisible barrier. Trell felt something cold settle in his stomach. What kind of barrier? We do not know. We sent a hardened military probe last week. It lasted 6 seconds longer than the civilian drones before it went dark. 6 seconds, Trell repeated. He looked at his screen showing the various reports. Humanity had recalled their people, closed their borders, built something on their moon and Mars. Something powerful enough to destroy military probes. What were they doing? He opened a channel to the Galactic Council's main chamber. Within an hour, he had assembled an emergency session. Only a dozen counselors bothered to attend. Most considered this a waste of time. Fellow counselors, Trell began, humanity has gone completely silent. They have closed their borders and are constructing something in their solar system, something that destroys our surveillance equipment. A Voltari counselor named Resh waved a dismissive claw. So what? They are probably building a monument to their wounded pride. Let them waste their resources on whatever makes them feel important. But what if they are building weapons? Trell asked. The chamber erupted in laughter. Even the few counselors who attended found this hilarious. Weapons? Resh clicked her mandibles in amusement. Counselor Trell, humanity has chemical rockets. What are they going to do, throw rocks at us really hard? More laughter. Trell felt his bark-like skin flush with embarrassment. Perhaps he was overreacting. Humanity was primitive. Everyone knew this. Their silence probably meant nothing. Secretary Lyra spoke up from her position at the side of the chamber. Perhaps we should investigate further. Send an official delegation. And waste diplomatic resources on a species that cannot even respond to our messages? Resh shook her head. No, let them play in their little solar system. When they are ready to behave like adults, they know where to find us. The session ended with a vote. The council decided to do nothing. Humanity's silence was not their concern. If Earth wanted to isolate themselves, that was their choice. Trell returned to his office feeling uneasy. Something about this situation felt wrong. He had fought in wars before becoming a counselor. He knew what it looked like when an enemy prepared for battle. The silence, the withdrawal, the fortification. But humanity was not an enemy. They were barely capable of spaceflight. What could they possibly be preparing for? His communicator buzzed again. This time it was a deep space monitoring station on the edge of Manthari territory. The station commander looked frightened. Counselor, we detected a massive energy surge. It came from Earth's solar system. The readings are unlike anything in our databases. What kind of energy? We are still analyzing. But sir, the power output was equivalent to a supernova. For exactly 3 seconds, Earth's sun appeared to have a companion star. Then it vanished. Trell felt his blood go cold. A weapon test? We cannot be certain. But whatever humanity just activated, it used more power in 3 seconds than our entire empire uses in a year. The communication ended. Trell sat in his office as artificial night fell outside his windows. Somewhere out there, in a primitive solar system that the council had dismissed and mocked, humanity was building something powerful enough to destroy surveillance drones, something that could generate energy on a stellar scale, and they were doing it in complete silence. No threats, no demands, no communication at all. Just silence. Trell had learned in his military days that an enemy who shouted and threatened was manageable. An enemy who worked in silence was terrifying. 6 months ago, he had laughed at humanity's chemical rockets. Now he was not laughing anymore. None of them were. But it was too late to take back the mockery. Too late to change how they had treated Earth's ambassador. All they could do was wait and see what humanity's silence would reveal. And Trell was beginning to suspect they would not like the answer. The first colony died in 12 minutes. Haskari Outpost 7 had been a mining settlement for 3 generations. 2,000 inhabitants worked the asteroid fields, extracting rare minerals for the Empire. They had basic defensive shields and a small security force. It meant nothing against the Kryn swarm. The Kryn came through the barrier nebula like a plague. Thousands of bioships, each one a living creature bred for war. They moved in patterns that seemed random, but were actually controlled by hive minds more complex than any computer. The Huskari defenders fired energy weapons. The Kryn absorbed the blast and adapted within minutes. The second wave of energy fire did nothing at all. Outpost 7 sent one final transmission before it went dark. They are eating everything. The ships, the station, the people. God help us, they are eating everything. Counselor Trell received the news while eating his morning meal. He immediately called an emergency session. This time, every counselor attended. The chamber was chaos. Reports flooded in from across the western frontier. The Kryn had not invaded just one colony. They had attacked 17 systems simultaneously. Manthari fortress worlds, Voltari research stations, Haskari trade hubs, even a Nixari diplomatic outpost. How many ships? Someone shouted. Current estimates put the Kryn fleet at over 10,000 bioships, an intelligence officer reported, and more are coming through the nebula every hour. Counselor Resh spoke up, her chrome body reflecting the emergency lights. We need to send our fleets immediately. The Manthari have the largest military force. Counselor Trell, commit your ships. Trell felt every eye in the chamber turn toward him. The Manthari Empire did have the largest fleet. 3,000 warships equipped with the best weapons the galaxy could produce. But the Kryn were different from any enemy they had faced before. The Kryn adapt to energy weapons, Trell said carefully. Our plasma cannons worked for exactly 40 minutes before becoming useless. Our particle beams lasted 20 minutes. What do you expect my ships to do? Find something that works, Resh shouted. My people are dying out there. Other counselors joined in. Everyone demanded someone else send their fleets. The Voltari wanted the Manthari to fight. The Manthari wanted the Huskari to commit their forces. The Huskari pointed out that their ships were designed for trade, not war. 3 days of debate followed. 3 days while the Kryn advanced deeper into council space. 6 more colonies fell, then 8, then 12. The invasion was accelerating. On the 4th day, Secretary Lyra made a suggestion that caused complete silence in the chamber. What about humanity? Every counselor turned to look at her. Trell could not believe what he was hearing. Humanity? Resh's voice dripped with scorn. What could humans possibly do? They have chemical rockets, remember? They probably could not even reach the war zone. They have gone silent for 13 months, Lyra said, building something. Perhaps we should ask for their help. Ask the humans? Another counselor laughed. Even if they could help, why would they? We rejected them. We laughed at them. We called them cosmically cute. Trell remembered Ambassador Ross standing in this very chamber, the quiet dignity on his face while 47 species mocked him, the way he had simply nodded and walked away. Send them a message, Trell said quietly. What? Resh spun to face him. Send humanity a message. Request aid. Tell them the situation. You cannot be serious. Do you have a better idea? Trell looked around the chamber. Our energy weapons do not work. The Kryn adapt faster than we can innovate. We are losing this war. At least humans might have something different. Something the Kryn have not seen before. The debate lasted another 6 hours. Finally, exhausted and desperate, the council voted to send the message, a simple transmission broadcast toward Earth's solar system. This is the Galactic Council requesting immediate military assistance. The Kryn swarm has invaded council space. Multiple colonies have fallen. We need any aid you can provide. They waited for a response. 1 day passed, then 2, then 5. Nothing. They are not coming, Resh said during the daily briefing. Either they cannot help or they will not help. We are on our own. Trell could not blame humanity if they chose to ignore the plea. Why should they help the very species that had humiliated them? Why should they risk their primitive ships for people who called them cute? On the 8th day after the transmission, something changed. A deep space monitoring station detected unknown energy signatures approaching the war zone. The signatures were moving at speeds that should not be possible. Faster than light travel, but not like any FTL the Council used. Who is it? Trell demanded. Did another species answer our call? The monitoring station operator sounded confused. Sir, the ships are transmitting identification codes. According to their signals, they are from Earth. That is impossible, Resh said. Humans do not have FTL capability. They do now, the operator replied. I am reading 50 vessels. Unknown design. Unknown propulsion. They just dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Kryn invasion zone. Trell felt something twist in his chest. 50 ships. Humanity had built 50 FTL-capable warships in just over a year. While the Council had been laughing at them, Humans had achieved what took most species centuries to develop. "Open a channel," Trell ordered. "Let me speak with them." The communication system struggled for a moment, then connected. A human face appeared on the screen. Male with gray hair and cold eyes. He wore a military uniform unlike anything Trell had seen before. "This is Admiral Peterson of the United Nations Space Command. We received your distress call." "Admiral Peterson," Trell said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Thank you for responding. We desperately need your help. The Kryn are overrunning our colonies. Yes, we have been monitoring the situation." Peterson's face showed no emotion. "Quite a serious threat you have here. Can you help us?" "Help you?" Peterson seemed to consider the question. "Well, Counselor Trell, we are observer status, remember? Observers watch. So that is what we are going to do. We are going to observe." Trell felt ice flood his veins. "Admiral, please. People are dying. People died on Huskari Outpost 7-12 minutes after the Kryn arrived. 2,000 of them. We observed that. We have been observing everything. Admiral, Earth's application for Council membership was rejected. We were told to watch and learn. So we watched. We learned. And now we are observing your war. Is there a problem with that, Counselor?" Through the viewport behind Peterson, Trell could see the other 49 human ships holding position. They were close enough to help. Close enough to make a difference. But they were not moving. Another colony was about to fall. The Kryn were hours away from overrunning a Voltari research station with 8,000 inhabitants, and humanity was going to watch it happen. Admiral Peterson watched Counselor Trell's face on the communication screen. The Menthari was trying to hide his panic and failing. Behind Trell, other council members crowded into view, all of them looking desperate. All of them looking at Peterson like he was their last hope. "Good, Admiral Peterson," Trell said, his voice careful now. "I understand your anger. We treated Earth poorly. We were wrong, Peterson repeated. He let the word hang in the air. "Yes, you were wrong about many things. We apologize truly, but please, innocent people are dying. The Kryn do not care about politics. They just consume everything in their path." Peterson looked at his tactical display. The Voltari research station was 3 hours from being overrun. 8,000 people working on medical research, trying to cure diseases. They had nothing to do with humanity's rejection from the Council. But Peterson had orders from Earth. Very specific orders. "Counselor Trell, let me tell you what is going to happen. I am going to keep my ships right here. We are going to observe while the Kryn attack that research station. We are going to watch 8,000 Voltari scientists die. We are going to do nothing. You cannot, unless," Peterson continued, "you meet our terms." Silence on the other end of the communication. Trell's mandibles clicked nervously. "What terms?" "Full council membership with voting rights. Immediate, not in 50 years. Access to all galactic archives, medical databases, and technology libraries. And a formal apology broadcast on all council channels. You mocked us publicly. You apologize publicly." "That is extortion," Counselor Resch said, pushing into view of the camera. "No," Peterson said calmly. "Extortion implies I am taking something you want to give. You do not want to give us respect. You have to be forced into it. That is not extortion. That is negotiation. People will die while we debate this." Resch shouted, "Yes, they will. Just like people on Huskari Outpost 7 died while you spent 3 days arguing about whose fleet should respond. Just like 6 other colonies died while you debated politics. You are very comfortable with death, Counselor Resch, as long as it is not your death." Peterson gestured to someone off-screen. A tactical map appeared beside his face. It showed the Kryn advance in real time, red markers spreading across the frontier like blood and water. "Every 10 minutes you delay costs approximately 300 lives, Peterson said. "So decide quickly. Full membership, archive access, and a public apology, or we watch your civilization burn." The communication channel went quiet except for frantic whispered conversations on the council end. Peterson could hear them arguing. Some wanted to agree immediately. Others could not stomach the humiliation. All of them were terrified. 6 minutes passed. The Kryn fleet was 2 hours and 54 minutes from the research station now. Finally, Trell spoke. "We agree to your terms. Full membership, archive access, and I will personally broadcast the apology." "Good, draft it now. Send it to my communication officer. We review it before you broadcast." You want to approve our apology? Resh sounded outraged. I want to make sure it is actually an apology, not some diplomatic nonsense about misunderstandings or cultural differences. You were cruel. Your apology will acknowledge that cruelty. 15 minutes later, Peterson received the draft apology. He read it carefully. The first version was typical diplomatic garbage. He sent it back with corrections. The second version was better, but still too vague. The third version was acceptable. Broadcast it, Peterson ordered. All council channels. I want every species in the galaxy to hear this. Trell appeared on the main council broadcast channel. He looked tired, defeated. This is Councillor Trell of the Manthari Empire. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I wish to address the people of Earth. 13 months ago, we rejected your application for council membership. We did not just reject you. We mocked you. We laughed at your achievements. We called your species cosmically cute. We treated your ambassador with disrespect and cruelty. This was wrong. Your species deserved better. You came to us in good faith and we responded with arrogance. We apologize sincerely for our behavior. Humanity is hereby granted full council membership with all associated rights and privileges. We hope you can forgive us for our treatment of you. The broadcast ended. Trell looked at Peterson through the communication screen. Satisfied? Yes. Now let me show you what humanity has learned during our year of silence. Peterson gave the order. The 50 human warships moved forward. They accelerated faster than any ship the Council had ever built. Within 30 minutes, they reached the Voltari research station. The Kryn were already there. Over 300 bioships swarming around the station like insects. The station's shields were failing. The Voltari defenders had maybe 10 minutes left. All ships, weapons free, Peterson commanded. Show them what we built. The human ships opened fire. No energy weapons. No plasma cannons or particle beams. The Kryn had adapted to all of those. Instead, humanity used something much simpler, something the galaxy had abandoned as primitive thousands of years ago. Kinetic weapons. Railguns fired solid tungsten rods at a significant fraction of light speed. Each rod weighed 50 kilograms and hit with the force of a nuclear explosion. The Kryn bioships could adapt to energy. They could not adapt to having holes punched through them by relativistic projectiles. Nuclear missiles followed. Not antimatter weapons or exotic bombs, simple fission and fusion warheads. Primitive technology that the Council considered ancient. But primitive did not mean ineffective. The Kryn ships started dying. Fast, swarms of automated drones poured from the human vessels. Each drone was small and carried only simple programming. Target the Kryn, ram into them, explode. The drones were cheap and expendable. The Kryn could destroy 100 drones and 100 more would take their place. On the Council monitoring stations, military observers watched in shock. Humanity was fighting like barbarians. No elegant energy weapons. No sophisticated targeting systems. Just overwhelming force applied with brutal efficiency. It worked. 18 hours after engaging the Kryn, Admiral Peterson reported back to the Council. Voltari Research Station is secure. All hostile forces eliminated. Human casualties, 0. We lost some drones, but drones are replaceable. How? Trell asked. The Kryn adapt to everything we throw at them. They adapt to energy weapons. To sophisticated technology. But you know what they cannot adapt to? Peterson smiled coldly. Getting hit really hard. Physics does not care about adaptation. A tungsten rod traveling at 0.2 light speed will destroy anything it hits. The Kryn are tough, but they are not tougher than kinetic energy. Your weapons are primitive, Resh said. But she did not sound insulting anymore. She sounded awed. Yes, primitive. Just like our chemical rockets and quantum computers. While you spent thousands of years developing energy weapons, we spent our entire history perfecting the art of throwing things at enemies. Rocks, spears, bullets, missiles. We never stopped making things that hit hard. We just made them hit harder. Peterson looked at his tactical display. The Kryn were retreating from 3 different systems. They had never encountered an enemy like humanity. An enemy that did not rely on technology they could adapt to. An enemy that just hit them until they died. We will push the Kryn back to the Barrier Nebula, Peterson said. Give us 3 months. Earth has 300 more warships ready to deploy. We built them all during our year of silence. While you were laughing at us, the communication ended. Peterson sat back in his chair and allowed himself a small smile. 13 months ago, Ambassador Ross had been humiliated in front of 47 alien species. Today, those same species were begging humanity for help. The galaxy had laughed at Earth. Now Earth's silence spoke louder than any words ever could. 3 Voltari military observers stood on the bridge of the UNSC Defiant, watching humans prepare for war. They had been assigned to study human tactics for the Galactic Council. What they saw confused them completely. Commander Susan Wright stood at the tactical station giving orders. She was young by human standards, maybe 30 years old. She wore a simple gray uniform with no decorations except a single silver pin shaped like Earth. "Deploy mines in grid pattern 7, she ordered. "Set nuclear yields to maximum. I want that entire corridor impassable." One of the Voltari observers, a young technician named Pell, approached cautiously. "Commander Wright, nuclear weapons? Those are extremely primitive. We stopped using fission reactions 6,000 years ago." Wright looked at him with a patient expression. "Yes, primitive, but each of those mines carries a 50-megaton warhead. When a Kryn bioship hits one, the ship ceases to exist. Does not matter how primitive the weapon is if it gets the job done. But the radiation contamination cleans up in a few years," Wright interrupted. "And right now I care more about stopping the Kryn than I do about cleaning up radiation. Priorities." Pell watched as dozens of the primitive nuclear mines deployed from the Defiant's cargo bay. Each mine was a simple sphere with basic sensors. When something came close, it exploded. "Crude but effective. Your weapons are all so simple," Pell said. "Where are your antimatter bombs? Your temporal disruptors? Your dimensional cannons?" "Do not have any," Wright said. "Never developed them. Did not need to. But how do you fight wars without advanced weapons?" Wright turned to face him fully. "Let me tell you about human warfare, Pell. We have been fighting each other for our entire existence. 200,000 years of constant conflict. Wars over territory, resources, religion, politics, and sometimes just because we did not like each other, we got very, very good at killing." She pulled up a display showing Earth's history, images of ancient battles, medieval sieges, industrial warfare, nuclear exchanges. Every weapon you call primitive, we perfected. We spent 5,000 years improving the bow and arrow, another 1,000 on gunpowder weapons, 300 years on chemical explosives, 100 years on nuclear weapons. We never moved on to exotic technology because we were too busy making the basics devastating. Another Voltari observer, an older female named Ress, spoke up. "But surely more advanced weapons would be more effective." "Would they?" Wright asked. "Your energy weapons are impressive, until the Kryn adapt to them in 20 minutes. Your particle beams are powerful, until the Kryn figure out how to absorb them. You know what the Kryn cannot adapt to? A 1-ton piece of metal hitting them at 50 kilometers per second. Physics does not allow adaptation." She brought up footage of recent battles, human railguns firing, the tungsten rods streaking through space faster than missiles, Kryn ships exploding on impact. "We use kinetic weapons because they always work. We use nuclear bombs because they always work. We use simple drones because if the Kryn destroy 1,000 of them, we have 10,000 more. Our entire military philosophy is built on one principle: reliability over sophistication." Admiral Peterson entered the bridge. The Voltari observers immediately stood straighter. Peterson had a reputation now. 3 months of fighting the Kryn and he had not lost a single battle. "Commander Wright, status report," Peterson said. "Grid 7 is mined and ready, sir. Forward fleet is in position. We are ready to push into the Tarka system." "Good. Counselor Trell wants to observe the operation. Is the command deck ready for visitors?" Wright nodded. Within minutes, Counselor Trell and Secretary Lyra arrived via shuttle. Trell looked around the bridge with obvious curiosity. Everything was simple. Metal walls, basic displays, no holographic interfaces or neural connections. "Admiral Peterson," Trell said, "I wanted to see how humanity fights. The Council is very impressed with your results." "Results are what matter," Peterson said. "Pell, bring up the tactical situation for Counselor Trell." The display showed the Tarka system. A Kryn hive fleet occupied the inner planets. Over 500 bioships. The human fleet had only 60 ships. "You are outnumbered," Trell observed. "Numbers are not everything," Peterson replied. "Watch." The human fleet split into 3 groups. The first group moved forward slowly, firing long-range missiles. The Kryn reacted predictably, moving to intercept. They flew directly into the minefield Wright had deployed. Nuclear fire blossomed across space. Dozens of Kryn ships vanished in the explosions. The survivors pushed through, damaged but still functional. The second human group appeared from behind a moon. Railguns fired at point-blank range. More Kryn ships died. The survivors adapted, growing thicker armor. The third group came from above the orbital plane. They did not fire kinetic weapons or missiles. They fired something else entirely. What is that? Trell asked, staring at the display. Chemical warheads, Peterson said, filled with sulfuric acid and chlorine gas. Simple chemistry. Eats through their bioships like water through paper. The Kryn had adapted to energy weapons and kinetic impacts. They had not adapted to chemical warfare. Because no species in the galaxy used chemical weapons anymore. Humanity did. The Kryn fleet broke apart. Some ships retreated. Others tried to fight. Human drones swarmed them like angry bees. Each drone was disposable. Each drone did its job. 6 hours later, the Tarka system was clear. The Kryn had fled. I do not understand, Trell said quietly. Your technology is so simple, so primitive. But you win every battle. How? Peterson looked at the Manthari counselor. Because we never forgot how to fight dirty. Your species had peace for thousands of years. You developed amazing technology, but you forgot the basics. You forgot that sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution. Fighting dirty, Trell repeated. Yes, mines, ambushes, chemical weapons, overwhelming force. The Kryn are sophisticated biological machines. We treat them like any other enemy. We study them. We find their weaknesses. We exploit those weaknesses without mercy. Lyra spoke for the first time since arriving. Your species is frightening, Admiral. I mean that as a compliment. We are survivors, Peterson said. Earth tried to kill us for 200,000 years. We survived ice ages, volcanic winters, asteroid impacts, plague, famine, war. We survived because we adapted faster than our environment could kill us. The Kryn are just another threat. We will survive them too. The Voltari observers took notes frantically. They were learning that human warfare was not about technology. It was about mindset, about being willing to use every tool available, about treating war as a problem to solve rather than a contest of sophistication. The Council wants to study your tactics, Trell said. Will you share your military doctrine with us? Peterson considered the question. Yes, but understand something, Counselor. Our doctrine works because of our history. You cannot just copy human tactics and expect them to work for you. We fight the way we do because Earth taught us that survival matters more than pride. That winning matters more than fighting fair. That coming home alive is the only victory that counts. He looked at the tactical display showing the cleared system. You called us primitive. You were right. We are primitive. We use primitive weapons and primitive tactics. But primitive works. And that is what matters. Trell nodded slowly. For the first time since meeting humanity, he understood. The Council's sophistication had made them weak. They had forgotten that war was not about elegance. It was about survival, and humans were the best survivors the galaxy had ever seen. The Kryn Hive Queen made her final decision out of desperation. For 4 months, the human primitives had pushed her swarm back system by system. Nothing worked against them. Energy absorption failed against their kinetic weapons. Armor adaptation failed against their chemical attacks. Hive tactics failed against their disposable drones. The humans fought like nature itself. Relentless, uncaring, efficient. So the Hive Queen made a choice that no Kryn leader had made in 1,000 years. She would retreat. But first she would hurt the humans. Make them pay for their victory. She directed every remaining bioship toward one target. Earth Admiral Peterson received the alert in his quarters. He had been reading reports on mining operations when the tactical alarm sounded. He reached the bridge in 40 seconds. Report, he ordered. Sir, the Kryn fleet is moving, all of it. 237 hive ships on a direct course for Earth. Commander Wright looked pale. They will reach our solar system in 18 hours. Peterson felt something cold settle in his chest. 200 ships, more than 3 times what humanity had deployed to the frontier. Every human warship was scattered across a dozen systems, fighting or protecting colonies. How many ships can we recall in time? Peterson asked. Maybe 20. The rest are too far away. 20 ships against 200. Even with human weapons, those odds were impossible. Counselor Trell appeared on the communication screen. He looked terrified. Admiral Peterson, we are tracking the Kryn movement. They are going after your homeworld. We can send our fleets to help defend Earth. No, Peterson said. Keep your fleets where they are. Protect the colonies we just liberated. Earth will handle this, but you do not have enough ships. We have enough. Peterson ended the communication before Trell could argue. He opened a different channel, one that went directly to Earth Defense Command. This is Admiral Peterson. Activate Home Defense Protocol. All systems live. I am bringing the Council observers to Earth. They need to see this. Within an hour, the UNSC Defiant was accelerating toward Earth at maximum speed. Trell, Lyra, and 6 other Council observers were on board. They had insisted on coming. They wanted to help defend humanity's homeworld. Peterson did not tell them there was no need. The Defiant dropped out of FTL at the edge of Earth's solar system. The observers rushed to the viewports to look at the human homeworld. What they saw made them fall silent. Earth's moon was covered in structures. Thousands of them. Each one was a railgun battery capable of firing hundreds of rounds per minute. The lunar surface had been turned into a fortress. Mars had orbital platforms surrounding it. Massive ring structures that glowed with contained energy. Laser arrays powered by fusion reactors and solar collectors. The asteroid belt was not a belt anymore. It was a defensive grid, thousands of automated weapons platforms, millions of mines, enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. Jupiter's orbit contained something that made Counselor Trell's blood go cold. Solar collectors the size of small moons, all aimed at a single focal point, a weapon that could use the sun itself as ammunition. And around Earth, surrounding the blue planet like a protective shell, were defensive satellites. So many that they blotted out the stars. Each satellite was small and simple, but there were tens of thousands of them. What is all this? Lyra whispered. Home defense, Peterson said simply. We built it during our year of silence. While you were laughing at us. You fortified your entire solar system, Trell said. This is not a defense network. This is a weapon system on a stellar scale. Yes, because we have been alone in the universe for our entire existence. We did not know if aliens would be friendly or hostile. So we prepared for the worst. We always prepare for the worst. The Kryn fleet arrived 12 hours later. 237 bioships emerged from FTL like a plague. They saw one planet, one target. They moved to attack. Earth's defense grid activated. The lunar railguns fired first. Tungsten rods streaked across space in a continuous stream. The Kryn's bioships tried to dodge. They could not. There were too many projectiles coming too fast. Dozens of ships died in the first minute. The Mars laser arrays fired next. Focused beams of light that could cut through asteroids. The Kryn shields held for seconds before melting. More ships died. The automated platforms in the asteroid belt launched missiles. Thousands of them. Simple nuclear warheads. Nothing exotic. Nothing the Kryn could adapt to. Just explosions, physics, radiation, death. The Kryn pushed through. 100 ships remained. They were close to Earth now. Close enough to attack. The orbital satellites activated. They did not fire weapons. They were the weapons. Each satellite was a kinetic impactor, a piece of metal designed to ram into targets at orbital velocity. 10,000 satellites moved at once. The sky above Earth filled with fire as satellites collided with Kryn ships. Each impact released more energy than a nuclear bomb. The Kryn tried to shoot down the satellites. More satellites took their place. 30 Kryn ships remained. They were almost to Earth's atmosphere. The Jupiter weapon fired. A beam of concentrated solar energy, captured and focused by the massive collectors, crossed the solar system in 8 minutes. When it hit the remaining Kryn ships, they simply ceased to exist. Vaporized. Atoms scattered across space. The battle lasted 4 hours and 12 minutes. Not a single Kryn ship survived. Not a single human ship fired a weapon. The automated defenses handled everything. Counselor Trell stood at the viewport, shaking. You built all this in 1 year? We started building it the day Earth achieved spaceflight, Peterson said. We just accelerated construction during our silent year. Humanity has always known we might need to defend ourselves, from asteroids, from solar flares, from aliens, from anything. So we built defenses. We built redundancies. We built overwhelming firepower. But the cost, Lyra said, the resources, the time, was worth it, because now Earth is safe. Our colonies are safe, and the Kryn learned what happens when you attack humanity's home. The Council observers watched the debris field where the Kryn fleet used to be. 200 ships destroyed without a single human casualty, without even requiring the human military fleet. Your species is terrifying, Trell said quietly. I understand that now. We laughed at you. Called you primitive. But you are not primitive. You are efficient. You are prepared. You are survivors. Yes, Peterson agreed. We survived ice ages and plagues.
We survived asteroids and ourselves.
We will survive anything the universe throws at us, because that is what humans do. We survive, we adapt. We win. He looked at Trell directly. You wanted us to watch and learn. We watched. We learned that the galaxy was complacent, that you developed amazing technology but forgot how to defend yourselves, that you argued while people died, that you needed someone to remember what survival actually means. And now, Trell asked, now humanity takes its place in the galaxy, full members of the Council, but also defenders, protectors. The Council votes to grant Earth military command of the frontier defense. Every species agrees because they saw what we can do. Lyra smiled. It was a strange expression on her chrome features. You earned it. Through silence. Through action. Through overwhelming force, Peterson nodded. The Council laughed at Earth. They mocked our primitive technology, our simple weapons, our chemical rockets. But laughter is temporary. Respect is permanent. And respect is earned through action, not words. He looked at Earth below, the blue planet that had tried to kill humanity for 200,000 years, the planet that made them strong, the planet that taught them survival mattered more than pride. Humanity's silence spoke louder than any speech I could give. We showed the galaxy who we are, not through declarations or threats, through preparation, through victory, through protecting not just ourselves but everyone. The Defiant orbited Earth peacefully. Around them, the defense grid powered down. The threat was gone. But the systems remained ready. Always ready. Because humans never forgot that the universe was dangerous. And they never forgot that survival was earned, not given.